For you, and it is a KanyeWest Pablo inspired DIY. Yes, a KanyeWest DIY. I was totally vibing the merchandise he created for his new Pablo album, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, a couple months ago Kanye West created Pablo merchandise to market his new album, and he sold it at pop-up shops in New York and LA, and I read Paris soon, so that's pretty cool. And I really liked the aesthetic and the pieces. Pablo is the name of his album. He had Pablo silkscreen and painted on jackets, and the denim jackets and bomber jackets, and so it was great branding, great marketing, and I loved the aesthetic and the vibe and the colorway, and I just loved it. But I didn't really resonate with the whole Pablo thing. If you do a little bit more research, you'll find out what Kanye West meant by the whole Pablo thing, and it just wasn't me. But I loved the vibe of the sweatshirts and the jean jackets, so I decided to take matters into my own hands and do it DIY. Some of his pieces ran up into the hundreds, and that's definitely not my budget. You know, I scored this Obey sweatshirt at a thrift shop, my denim jacket from Brandy Melville, so this is definitely an affordable DIY project. So get creative. You can do it on t-shirts and bomber jackets. I say do it all. I might do a long sleeve shirt. I'm really digging that vibe. And also know that this is not a project you can do in a day. It's definitely a weekend project. I did the sweatshirt and the jacket in a week, so keep that in mind if you're gonna do this project. I mean, you have mad DIY skills, so power to you, but yeah, definitely take some time to paint and, you know, making sure it looks good. So stop rambling. I really hope you like this video, so let's get to it. So first, I'm going to show you how to create that Pablo jean jacket. If you don't buy vintage, the first thing you want to do is distress the denim jacket you buy. You want to give it that perfectly worn-in vintage feeling. So the supplies you're going to need are scissors, an X-Acto blade, razors, sandpaper, and 3 different grits that are soft, medium, and coarse. And your denim jacket. The one I bought is from Brandy Melville because I wanted to be that light blue denim, so I went with the new one. So first step is going to be sandpapering your denim jacket. This is going to give a new jacket or an old one that perfectly worn in, comfortable, aged vibe. So take a sheet, cut it in half, and then cut it in half again. But I recommend using scissors you don't use often because the sandpaper is going to dull out your scissors. And you just fold it and you're going to rub it all around your jacket. Non-stretch denim jackets tend to be very stiff and not so comfortable until they're worn in. So I recommend going all over the jacket, on the collar, around the edges, at the elbows, the shoulders, just all over the place to really soften the denim. Once you soften the jacket to your liking, then you're going to need a razor blade. And the razor blade is going to create the rips and holes that are going to give it that really cool, distressed, worn-in look. Start razoring any place you want it to look distressed and ripped and torn. So I recommend going in smaller strokes, hard strokes though, because you want to break the denim, and just keep going over and over where you want it until you start seeing rips, as you can see. And be careful because those little razors are really sharp. As you can see, I cut my finger. So a razor blade can definitely help you create holes, but if you want a larger, more exaggerated hole like I'm cutting on the shoulder, I recommend scissors, and you cut it to the size you want, and then grab your sandpaper and rub over the hole, and it's going to start distressing and help you jumpstart the fraying process. I also went in with the razor blade to fray and distress the hole I created a little bit more. So just know that creating holes and distressing your jacket is a lot of cutting, a lot of using the razor blade, sandpaper. It's a lot of going back and forth with your supplies to create that perfectly distressed denim jacket that you want. And don't forget, you can sandpaper and fray and cut holes anywhere on your jacket. Definitely look up inspiration of distressed jackets that you like, so you can see exactly you want to fray, cut, and distress your denim jacket. Once you finish distressing your jacket, throw it in the washer and the dryer. And while that's washing, it's time to make your stencils. So the font on that Pablo jacket isn't something that comes with your computer. So one of my favorite websites to get really unique and cool fonts is DaFont, and click English Style and scroll down till you find English Town. It was the closest font I could find to Kanye West's original jacket. So I customized it a little bit and I went with IMLVH to make the jacket a little more personal and a little more. To create the stencils, I actually use binder dividers because you get a pack of plastic sheets for a super affordable price. The Sharpie and tape are optional, but you'll definitely need the X-Acto knife to create clear-cut edges. Once you download the font, you're going to use Word to help you print out the letters and names or whatever you want painted onto your jacket. So once you figure it out, print it and then cut all your letters out. The font isn't exactly like Kanye's Pablo jacket, so I actually customized the font a little bit. I cut off some of the serifs and just little extra design elements that weren't like the Pablo jacket style. Once your letters are all cut out, I recommend grabbing a ruler and measuring the back of your jacket from top to bottom and ensure the letters are equally distributed, and using a pencil to mark those lines so you can make sure everything is perfect and centered and placed. To figure out the placement of your letters, it's time to make the stencil. I actually recommend gluing the letter to the back of the plastic divider and then cutting them out with the X-Acto knife. I also decided to sketch the lines I created on my denim jacket onto the divider so everything's placed perfectly. Once your letters are glued onto your divider, then you're going to use the X-Acto knife and cut the letters out. As you can see, I traced around the letter, but I also thickened and cut off extra serifs and design elements that weren't exactly like font that's on Kanye's Pablo jacket. To make the painting easier, I taped both dividers together to create one big stencil. Then I trimmed the extra plastic of the divider that I didn't use, so the stencil fits perfectly on the back of the jacket. Once the stencil's made, now it's time to paint the jacket. To prevent the stencil from moving, I use Scotch spray mount, which is repositionable, so you spray the plastic stencil and then you stick it on the jacket. You can also tape around the stencil for extra security. Then you're going to need a palette, paintbrushes, and Angelus leather paint. You definitely can use any type of fabric paint, but I really like the pigment of this paint. When it came to painting, I took it back to my old school coloring days. I outlined each letter and then I filled it in, which definitely helped create a more thorough and clean paint job. To make sure the letters are bright white and opaque and not transparent, I recommend about 3 to 4 coats, or just paint to your liking. Once the paint is dry, simply remove the plastic stencil, and there you have it, a Kanye-inspired denim jacket. So if a hoodie is more your style, you're going to repeat the same steps as a denim jacket, but just on a sweatshirt. Once you have your letters cut out, I definitely recommend placing and measuring and just making sure the letters are perfectly centered before you cut them out of the plastic divider. This is definitely not my favorite step because I'm really bad at measuring, but I really encourage doing it to make it look really good. And once everything is placed to your liking, I cut up the divider and glued the letters onto the divider. And as I mentioned before, once the letters are glued onto the divider, you're going to take the X-Acto knife and cut the letters out to create the stencil. I also cut off little extra serifs that were part of the letters because I didn't think it made what I was painting as readable. I customized the letters a little bit and cut off little serifs or design elements that weren't exactly like the Kanye one. And also there's a little tip at each letter that I cut. So if you keep the serif, it's more Pablo and Kanye West style font. So just be mindful of that. I took it off because I just didn't care too much for it. So just a heads up on that. Once your letters are all cut out of the dividers, you're going to measure and make sure your letters are evenly placed. So this is the I Feel Like Pablo sweatshirt, but I put I Feel Like IMLVH just to make sure everything was equal and balanced and just perfectly centered. And then you spray your stencil and stick it on. And I forgot to get a better view of this, but you are going to want to get cardboard or construction paper or newspaper and slide it between the sweater and the jacket like I'm doing here, just to make sure the paint doesn't stick to the other. I also recommend about 2 to 3 bottles of paint just to make sure you're evenly covered and there's enough paint for your whole sweatshirt. And repeat the same painting steps, but I definitely recommend about 5 to 6 coats of paint on the sweatshirt because it is a bit porous, so it just kind of soaks up the paint and I want it thick and bright and vibrant, so I definitely recommend more paint. But also make sure the paint is not so thick around the edges because as you will see, I had to do a bit of a cleanup because it was very thick and didn't dry as clean. Once it's completely dry, remove the stencil. And again, there you have it, an I Feel Like Pablo inspired sweater. As I shared, make sure your paint strokes are evenly distributed and not so thick around the edges because I had to go in and clean up the edges, which is totally fine, but it's just an extra step you're gonna have to do. And also just be very cautious where you're painting because as you can see, I got paint elsewhere on my sweatshirt, but I have a tip for you. Just get the amazing crud cutter because that takes literally anything out. I'm talking lipsticks, highlighter, anything. And you're gonna spot treat where the extra paint is and it'll instantly clean it up. And there you have it, 2 Pablo Kanye West inspired pieces, but very personalized. Rather than I Feel Like Pablo, I went with I Feel Like IMLVH, and on the front, I Feel Like Me. And to style it, I was feeling very Ventiments inspired, so I paired the hoodie with a bomber jacket, my favorite Forever 21 mini dress, and some brown booties, which as you can see are very Ventiments vibed. And for the denim jacket, you can definitely rock it with jeans or leggings, but I really like how it looked paired with that same black dress. And I just grabbed my Steve Madden Hill, my black choker, and it was a cute way to dress up the denim jacket. I hope you guys like this DIY I created for you. I've been eyeing and vibing those Kanye West pieces, but I didn't have the budget or the patience to wait in line in LA. So I went ahead and did it myself. And personalize it, make it you. And if you do it, please let me know. I'd love to see how you created it and tag me in your photos if you share it. Again, I hope you liked it, and I'll be sure to catch you in my next video. Bye.